Hi there, today I'm going to be giving you a walkthrough of the outlines for three different demographic and firmographic scoring models in Marketo so that you can assess the quality of the leads being created in your Marketo instance. I will then also show you the outline for a lead scoring activity model. And then finally, I'll show you how to combine your quality scoring models with your lead scoring model to make an MQL mechanism. So in the next series of video clips, you will see the outlines for each of these models and the MQL mechanism. And I'll also show you which blog post to go to see the Marketo implementation for each of these. So stay tuned for all this juicy content coming right up. Hi there, today I'm going to be showing you how you can take your ideal customer profiles and map these to corresponding Marketo fields and then build smart campaigns to assess newly created leads to see how good a fit they are for your company. And this blog post here is a follow-on blog post that shows all the Marketo implementation in order to do this ICP matching. But I first recommend, before diving into the implementation below, I recommend taking a look at the Marketo lead scoring blog post first, because I outline the model outline and I explain how the ICP matching works. So this is where we are actually going to start this video. And we're going to go to the Marketo lead scoring blog post. We're going to go to Demo and Firmo Marketo lead scoring model 1. And this is where we're going to begin by explaining how the model is set up before we go to the implementation in Marketo later on in this video. So the output of this ICP matching model in Marketo is two fields, lead quality and lead quality detail. And the lead quality field can have four values all the way from unknown to top match. And whether a lead falls into the low to top match buckets is determined by the values that they have for all these fields. And then if a person does not have any values for any of these fields, then we just put them in the unknown bucket. And feedback from the sales team on previous mechanisms was they didn't know why someone was becoming a marketing qualified lead or why they were a good fit for our company. So that's why we have the lead quality detail field to give more information about why the person is a low, mid, or top match. So as we can see in the image here, and I'll show you this Google Sheet later on in this video, we can see the lead quality detail field provides more information about why the person has the lead quality value that they do. I'll link to this blog post within the description of the YouTube video, so you can take a greater look or a more detailed look at all these fields that we score on here. But I list all the fields that are part of our ICP matching model, and I give a reason as to why we might want to include them in the model. So for example, we might want to include target account status because anyone who's a target account of our sales team, we will want to make them a top match. Or industry is very important because you can only sell to people who are in your target industry. And then there are other fields like this Clearbit company description, where you can score on certain keywords related to your product or service in that company description. So these are all the fields that we use in the scoring model at my company. And now I'm going to show you how we can take all these fields and then look at the different values in these fields to decide what sort of a fit a person is for our company. So now that we know the fields we are interested in matching on, if we open up this Google Sheet, we can now see how we can take these fields and then divide people into certain lead quality values based on what values they have for these fields. So for example, here we can see if someone's Clearbit company tags contain information, technology, and services, they're going to be a mid-match. If the employee count is greater than 10 and the industry is diversified telecommunication services, they will also be a mid-match. If they're associated with a target account, they're going to be a top match. If their employee count is greater than 10 and industry is software and services, then they're also a top match. And you can see we also take other fields like the Alexa rank, the Clearbit tech tags, and anything else. Yeah, that's it. So we take all these fields that I showed you here, And then in this sheet, based on the values they have for those different fields, we divide them into different lead quality and lead quality detail segments. And within the top match here, you'll notice that we've got a top match for company descriptions and a top match for job titles. So in this sheet, we've got the keywords we're looking for in the company description field. So if any of these keywords are present in the company description field, we want the person to be a top quality match. And then we also have, and you'll see this down below here, we've also got mid-match company descriptions too in our model. And if we scroll down far enough in the sheet, we can see all the mid-matches that we are doing for the company description field. And then similarly, we've got top match job titles that we're interested in. And we've also got mid-match job titles that we're interested in. And they are stored in this sheet here. So we can see all the keywords that we are looking for in the job title that will lead to someone being a top match. And we can also see all the keywords in the job title that will lead to someone being a mid-match. So this is how we build the ICP matching logic in our Google Sheet. And the next step is to translate all of these matches and put them into Marketo Smart Campaigns. And that's what I'll cover in the rest of the video by going through this Marketo ICP matching post. Hi there, today I'm going to be walking through how we can grade the values a person has for different demographic and firmographic fields in Marketo and yield a single output grade that you can use to power your marketing qualification mechanism. So this blog post accompanies the demographic and firmographic Marketo lead scoring model 2 section from the Marketo lead scoring blog post. So before diving into all the implementation steps that are listed in this blog post, we are first going to take a look at this section in the Marketo lead scoring blog post so that we can see what the output of the model looks like, what fields are used in the model, and how these fields are used in scoring logic. So let's dive into the Marketo lead scoring blog post and go to the lead scoring model 2 section here. So the output of this grading model is a single field called quality score tier, which can have values from A to D. And it's the combination of the demographic score and the firmographic tier that give us the quality score tier. So for example, if someone has a demographic tier of 2 and a firmographic tier of 3, then that will make sure that their quality score tier is C. And then the demographic score tier and the firmographic score tier values that you see here from 1 to 4, they are calculated from the sum of all the demographic scores and the sum of all the firmographic scores divided by the maximum possible demographic and maximum possible firmographic score. Later on in this video, I'll show you exactly how we calculate the demographic and the firmographic score tiers, but we'll put that on hold for the moment as I first go through the scoring fields that power these two fields. So we've got 5 fields that store the scores for the email address, the seniority, the title, the phone, and the LinkedIn profile that exist on a lead. And then similarly, for all the firmographic values for the company of that lead, we've got a score field for the website, the revenue, the Alexa ranking, the industry, and the country. So let's first take a look at the demo score control panel sheet here. So this sheet contains the logic that is used to determine the score that will be in each of these 5 fields based on what values are in the corresponding fields. So for example, if we see that any of these keywords are present in a person's job title, then they will get 15 points in the demo score title field. Or if any of these keywords are present, then they'll get 10 points in the demo score title field. Or if any of these are present, then it'll be minus 100 points in the demo score title field. And then similarly, if someone has got a phone number populated, then they'll get 25 points in the demo score phone field, or else they'll get 0. If someone has a LinkedIn profile, they'll get 20 points in the demo score LinkedIn field, or else they'll get 0. A person will get plus 10 points in the demo score email field, so long as none of these free mail indicators are present in their email address. And then finally, if any of these keywords are present in the job title, then we'll assign plus 25 or plus 15 points to the demo score seniority field. And then what we do is we sum all these scores up, and then we divide by the maximum possible demographic score, which in this case is 95. So if we sum up all these maximum values here, the 10, the 25, the 15, the 25, and the 20, that gives us 95. So whatever score a person has across these 5 fields, we divide it by 95 to get a decimal value ranging from 0 to 1. And then we compare this decimal value to these two thresholds, 0.3 and 0.6. So if this decimal value is greater than 0.6, then the demographic score tier will be tier 1. If it's greater than or equal to 0.3 and less than 0.6, then it's tier 2. If it's less than 0.3, it's tier 3. And if it's equal to 0, and then it's tier 4. And it's the very same setup in the Firmo score control panel sheet. So if we go to the next tab over, we can see that if any of these values are present in the website, they'll either get 20, 15, 10, or 5 points in the Firmo score website field. Or looking at another example, if any of these industries are present in the industry field, they'll get 30 points, or they'll get 15 if this is present in the industry field. And then the same as before, we sum up the scores across all 5 of these fields, and then we divide by the maximum possible firmographic score. And in this case, that is equal to 100. So if we add all these maximum scores across these 5 fields together, we can see that the maximum value is 100. And then we compare this to the Firmo score low threshold and high threshold, which in this case are 0.3 and 0.7. And if the decimal value is greater than 0.7, it's tier 1. If it's greater than or equal to 3 and less than 0.7, it's tier 2. If it's less than 0.3, then it's tier 3. And if it's equal to 0, then it's tier 4. So this is how we calculate the demographic and firmographic score tiers. And then once we have those, that then enables us to calculate the output quality score tier based on these two values. So I've already hinted at all the fields that power our grading model. So I list them out explicitly here. So we've got the 5 demographic fields and the 5 firmographic fields. And you'll notice that some of them are powered by Clearbit. So this estimated annual revenue comes from Clearbit. This industry field comes from Clearbit, but in your case, it could also come from a form on your website or sales input. It's just for the models I've built, I've often used Clearbit to power this field. And then the LinkedIn URL is also a Clearbit field, and the same with the seniority field. And if you want to see all the values that these fields can have, you can either go to Clearbit's website and look at all their attributes and the different sorts of values you can have for these attributes, or you can open up their attribute value sheet and you can go to something like industry attributes, and you can see all the different values you can get for the industries from Clearbit. And once you see all of these, you can use these to help build your own scoring model. And once you know what fields you want in your scoring model for both the demographic and firmographic, you're then ready to start testing your scoring model and fine-tuning it. So the way we can fine-tune our scoring model is by going to the quality scoring calculator sheet here. And then what we do is we will create a new sheet. And then let's just say in this case, it's July spend greater than or equal to $0. We'll import all the leads we want to test. And for each lead, we'll make sure we've got all the demographic and firmographic fields necessary for our scoring model. So we'll import them in this new tab. And then in the Quality Matrix Visualization tab, we'll list the name of the tab that contains the people we want to score. And then in the Quality Score Calculation sheet, all these formulas will automatically update to both pull in the information from this new tab and also generate all the output scores for this tab. So to show you guys that this sheet is dynamic, I'm going to clear out this field here. And then if we go back to quality score calculations, we can see that all these formulas give us NA. However, if we include the name of the sheet we want to score, which again is July spend greater than or equal to 0, this contains all the information we want. If we put this back in here, we'll see that all these formulas update to pull in all the field values for each person from this tab, and all the scores for each field are then calculated automatically. And the great thing about this is we can also fine tune our model here. If we're not happy with the email score for someone or the title score someone has been given, we can go into the demo score control panel and we can change it. So let's take a specific example here. So we see that product manager is in this person's job title. So we can see that their demo score title value here is 10 points, but let's make that, if we want it to be 50, let's change that to 50 here. And then we can see that automatically the score for the manager here has updated to 50. So this is how we can iterate and fine tune our scoring model. We can edit the scores in the demo and Firmo score control panels, and then see the output updated automatically in this sheet. And we can keep going back and forth between updating these two control panel sheets and looking at the output in this sheet until we are happy with each of the scores assigned here and each of the scores assigned here. And we can do the same thing for the thresholds as well. So if we update any of these thresholds, then the demographic score tier and the firmographic score tiers in this sheet will be updated automatically too. So not only can we change these scores and see the output change automatically, we can also change these tiers, and then we'll see the demographic and firmographic score tiers, and therefore the person's quality score tier, change automatically as well. So we can do all this fine tuning in the sheet, and once we are happy with our outputs in both this sheet and this sheet, we are now ready to implement this scoring logic within Marketo. And this is where we'll now dive back in to the Marketo demo and Firmo grading blog post. Hi there, today I'm going to be showing how we can use ChatGPT to classify leads created within Marketo. In order to do this, we are going to use the Zapier automation tool to query ChatGPT for the classification of any new leads created within Marketo. And then we're going to use Zapier to update these new leads with the GPT classification. And this blog post is a follow-on blog post from the Marketo lead scoring blog post. And in this Marketo lead scoring blog post, I walk through how to develop your lead classification prompt for ChatGPT, and also how to iteratively test and fine-tune this prompt before you move on to all the implementation steps I have down below. So this is where we're actually going to start this video, is by first going through how to test and develop our prompt so that we're ready to do all these implementation steps further along in this video. So let's jump to the Marketo lead scoring blog post so we can see how to develop and test our prompt for ChatGPT. So in this blog post, we are going to go to the Demo and Firmo Marketo lead scoring Model 3 section. And in here, as I stress, developing your prompt is the most important thing. The implementation steps, as I'll show you later on, are pretty simple and straightforward, but the hardest part is iteratively testing your prompt and measuring results so that you can get the desired classification you are looking for from ChatGPT for all the leads you are sending it. And it's very easy when you want to test one lead at a time. So here, for example, I've got a prompt where I'm going to ask ChatGPT to tell me if someone is a good fit for Telnex's SMS services. And a tip, which took me a while to learn, is that if you want to do a new line when you're talking to ChatGPT, hold Shift and Enter at the same time, or Shift and Return, and that'll do a line break. And then you can put in the information. So you can put in Tyron Pretorius, Tyron at the workflowpro.com. And then I can put in my website address too. And then we can hit enter. And I'll pause it here for a second while it's generating its response. So ChatGPT has finished its response and it's given me the output I was looking for. It told me whether the person was a good or bad fit. And it also gave me the reason that it thinks the person is a good or bad fit. So this is good for initial testing to develop your prompt, but you really want to test this prompt out over a large number of leads that you know are both good and bad, and see what answer ChatGPT gives you for both the good and the bad leads. And to do this within the ChatGPT chat interface would be very time consuming and tedious. So the best way to test out your prompt across a large number of leads is actually using a Google Sheet, such as this one here. And within this Google Sheet, we use the GPT for Sheets and Docs application. And you can follow this link in the blog post here in order to install this application. So once you've installed this application, you can then access it from within your Google Sheet by going to Extensions, GPT for Sheets and Docs. And then the very first time you open up this application, you will need to put in your ChatGPT API key. And where you get that is by following this link here that I have in the blog post. It will take you to your account, and then you can create a new API key or use an existing one. I recommend creating a new API key for each project or use case that you have. So you can see here, I've got one for my Python code and I've got one for my Google Sheets. It just makes tracking easier. So later on, when you're looking at how many API requests have been made to your account, you can see all the ones that have been made using the Python key and all the ones made using the Google Sheets key. So you can tell how many API requests each project is using. Once you have copied your API key, you can then go to the Set API Key section in order to set that API key. And then once you've done that, you can see the list of available functions. And you can click the drop-down arrows to get a brief description of each one and get links to the documentation and also videos. And you can also set the settings that your GPT formulas will use, and you can choose the model, whether it's GPT 3.5 or GPT 4 that you want to use. You can also edit things like the creativity, the max response size, and there's also more controls here that you can use. And all of these will again affect the output that's generated from all these functions here. And the one I'm going to show you how to use today is just the simple GPT formula. And the way this works is that we just have the 3 letters GPT, then we open up a bracket, and then we put in the prompt. So this is the prompt that we have. And then we also include the information about the person here, and we separate them with a comma. So in this case, we ask it to determine whether the person is a good fit for Telnex. And then we ask it to format its answer with the fit and then the reason. And then we include the person information in the prompt as well. And then we can drag this formula down. We can drag this formula down across all the leads in our Google Sheet. And then we can just do some formatting to extract the fit that ChatGPT gave us, as well as the reason it gave us for this fit. And then what I've also done is I've done a simple formula which just compares the ChatGPT fit from column H with the human decision about whether the person is a good fit. So obviously you'd import all these leads with their name, website, and email. You'd import all of these into the Google Sheet, and then you'd manually assess whether you think they are a good fit for your company. So you'd put in your human values here of either good fit or bad fit, and then we concatenate all the information about the person and we send it to ChatGPT in our request. And then what we do is we compare ChatGPT's fit to this human value using this formula. And if it's a match, if they both say good fit or they both say bad fit, then this will be true. However, if they disagree, then this value will be false. And then what I do in the top left-hand corner here is I count the number of matches that we get in this column. So I count how many times it's equal to true. And then I repeat this process for the lead quality field. So the lead quality field could be any existing lead scoring field that you're using in Marketo, and you want to compare how this field that already exists, you want to compare how this performs with ChatGPT's fit. So then again, we use the exact same formula before, where if the GPT fit is equal to the lead score that you have from Marketo, then it's equal to true. If they disagree, it's equal to false. And then I've just got a formula in the top left-hand corner again that counts the number of times that your existing Marketo lead score agrees with the ChatGPT lead score and outputs the formula here. So then you can use these two formulas to quickly assess how this prompt has performed, because we can see that according to the human match, the GPT score matches 50% of the time, whereas when we have the existing lead score that we get from Marketo, the GPT score matches 60% of the time. So we can use these two formulas here to see how this prompt performs. And then if we want to iterate and test out a new prompt, what we want to do is we want to clone this template tab, as I've done here, and then we'll edit the prompt slightly. So in this case, we are just going to add a good customer for Telnex's SMS services. So we just add in that little piece of text here. And then the ChatGPT formula will run automatically and compute all its new fit values and reasons once we modify the prompt. And then we can compare how did this prompt perform compared to the previous prompt by comparing these values to these ones. So we can see that the match rate was better in this sheet compared to this sheet. So we know that this prompt is a better prompt than the one we have in the test 1 tab here. So let me show you how we can do that live. So we are going to clone, we are going to duplicate our template. We are going to call it test 2. And in here, we're going to say a good customer for Telnex's SIP trunking services. And then we're going to hit enter. We'll notice that the GPT response column here is loading, and then it slowly populates with all the values based on this new prompt. And then we can see the match rate here has updated too. So now we can see that this prompt is actually the best prompt so far because it's got the best human match. So here it was 44%. In our initial template, it was 50%. But now in this example here, with this new prompt, we get an 80% match rate. So now we can either move forward with iterating and keep on testing prompts and trying to get better and better match scores in the top left-hand corner here. Or once you decide that you're happy with your prompt and you're ready for implementation, then we can move on to Marketo and Zapier to show how this is done. Hi there, today I'm going to be showing you how we can build an activity scoring model in Marketo to gauge a person's level of intent over a certain time period. This blog post accompanies the Marketo lead scoring blog post and the Marketo lead scoring for activity section. So the first thing we are going to do is take a look at this section so that we can see what the output of the model looks like, what activities are used in the model, and how these activities will be scored. And then later on in this video, we're going to go through the implementation steps in Marketo. So the very first thing we're going to do is go to this Marketo lead scoring blog post and the Marketo lead scoring for activity section. At your company, I'm guessing there are a number of high intent activities like filling out a contact sales form that you might MQL for immediately. However, what happens when a lead does lots of smaller activities like visiting 20 plus web pages and then downloading an ebook, which when you might consider all these smaller activities together, they might warrant the person being handed off to sales and becoming an MQL. This is where a field like the behavior score 7-day field is helpful, because every activity that a lead carries out is given a certain score, and then all the scores for the lead's activities over the past 7 days are summed up and stored in the behavior score 7-day field. So this way a lead's intent over the past week can be assessed using this single field, and different behavior score 7-day thresholds can be applied to leads of different quality. So for example, your top quality leads might only need 10 points to be handed off to sales, whereas the low quality leads might need 20 points to be handed off to sales. And also to give your sales team more context about the activities that a person has done to achieve a certain behavior score 7-day value, we can create a behavior score 7-day history field, which shows all the activities a person has done to contribute to their behavior score 7-day value. The first step when building your activity scoring model in Marketo is to collect all the activities that you have in Marketo into a Google Sheet and then assign a point value for each activity. So you can use this sheet as an example where we include all our activities and we give each activity a score. And then in columns E to G, we group all the activities by the same type. So all the page view events together, all the number events are together, all the content events are together, and so on. And this makes it easy to compare the scores of activities with the same type. So for example, we can see whether it is fair for a competitor page view to get 3 points when viewing 10 plus generic pages is only worth 2 points. So grouping them together by type makes it easy to compare activities within the same type together to see if their scores are fair. And then in columns A to C here, we sort all the activities in descending order of score. And doing this makes it easy to compare the scores across different types. So in this case, columns A to C make it easy to see whether purchasing more than 10 numbers, if this is fair to be worth 5 points, when contacting sales is also worth 5 points. So this is how sorting all the activities by score allows you to compare them across all the different types to see if the points assigned are fair. The final thing you need to define in your scoring model is what the thresholds should be for leads of different quality. So you could say that A quality leads need 10 points to be handed off to sales, and then D quality leads need 15 points to be handed off to sales. Once you have defined these thresholds and the scores for each activity, you are now ready to implement this scoring logic in Marketo. So now we'll head back to the Marketo activity blog post. Hi there, today I'm going to show you how to build an MQL mechanism in Marketo so that we can flag and prioritize the leads that sales needs to reach out to. And while we're doing so, we're not only going to alert sales, but we're also going to provide them with context about why a lead was deemed to be marketing qualified. And this blog post here accompanies the MQL model outline section from the Marketo lead scoring blog post. So we're first going to check out this section so that we can see how we can categorize our different MQL activities for leads of different qualities. So let's dive on in to the MQL model outline section in the Marketo lead scoring blog post. So before diving into this MQL model outline section, I first want to highlight that in this blog post, I show you 3 different demographic and firmographic lead scoring models that you can use to assess the quality of your leads in Marketo. And then I also show a lead scoring model, which shows you how to score a lot of smaller activities and then sum the scores for all of these activities together to see if someone should be marketing qualified. So the example I give here is there are lots of small activities like visiting web pages and maybe downloading an ebook that you wouldn't MQL for immediately. However, if someone views 20 web pages and downloads an ebook, you might deem them to be sales qualified. So this model here gives you a way to aggregate all of these smaller activities together in order to see whether all of these activities combined is enough for someone to become marketing qualified. And where a person's lead quality comes into play is that for our top quality leads, they will need less points to become sales qualified versus the low quality leads who will need more points and more activities to become sales qualified. So this model I define here aggregates all those smaller activities together and then determines whether all these activities combined, along with the person's quality score, is enough for them to become sales qualified. The MQL model I'm going to outline here will combine the person's lead quality with activities that we want to MQL immediately for. And the way we do this is using the MQL activity sheet, and we categorize activities based on a priority. So critical activities should trigger an MQL no matter what the Marketo lead score is. Important activities should trigger an MQL for people whose Marketo lead score is A to C or maybe low to top match, depending on what quality scoring you use. And then normal activities should trigger an MQL for Marketo leads whose score is A to B or mid to top match. So for every activity that we have in Marketo, we're going to assign it a priority from critical to normal. And for each activity, we're going to give it an MQL source and an MQL source detail. So if someone fills out the contact sales form, we're going to MQL this person no matter what their lead quality score is. And we're going to put the marketing contact sales text in the MQL source field. And we're going to put the contact us text in the MQL source detail field. So when the sales team see an MQL come through with these values, they know that the person filled out the contact sales form in order to MQL. Or similarly, if they see these values come through on an MQL, they know the person spent more than $2,500 over their lifetime. So this is how we can prioritize our different MQL activities and provide the sales team with context about why the person became an MQL. Okay, so now let's take a look at how we can implement this MQL mechanism in Marketo by going to the Marketo MQL mechanism post. Now that you have covered one of the most important fundamentals of Marketo, which is lead scoring and creating an MQL mechanism, I'm sure you will be interested in covering other fundamentals such as Marketo webhooks, Marketo email templates, and the Marketo API. So check out these 3 blog posts here to get a thorough introduction and walkthrough of each of these 3 fundamental Marketo concepts. And as always, if you found this video useful, please give it a like. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, then please subscribe. Have a great day.